us about when you found the shed when y'all first went on the lease.
The shed we found, it was last year, right before turkey season in February, and we were kind of scouting this property out. We had just gotten it, and we're about to start turkey hunting and getting ready for turkey season, and we were just kind of, scoping it out, and we come across this strip of hardwoods, and we were looking at it, and we seen some old rubs and some old scrapes that were still kind of fresh, and I just happened to look down in the woods and saw this big old shed to this deer. And at the time, and still to this day, it was probably the biggest shed I'd ever found. And I could tell that he was probably going to be there for the next year or two. See, my stand's there, but the only bad thing is, if the deer are over here in this little bottom, if they're 10, 15 yards in them woods, I can't see down in that hole. And they come up right there a pretty good bit. But they come up this is where they come up the hill at, pretty much 90% of the time. There's an old road right here, and they use that to come up this hill, and I think they need to get to all them planted pines. But I'm thinking I really want in that tree right there. Right here, and I couldn't see him because there was a big old vine laying right there in them trees. I didn't have a shot. I could see him. Yeah.
That's where you want it?
I think I like that tree right there. I'm gonna have to be higher though. The first picture I got of the deer, actually Justin was with me. I had put out my cameras, during the summertime, getting ready for deer season, trying to figure out what deer we had. And I think I'd put my cameras out right at the 1st of July. Got some pictures, some small bucks, a pretty nice 10-pointer, and it was looking pretty good. But I was still looking for that picture of the deer that had dropped that shed. And I won't never forget it to this day. July the 22nd at about 7:30 in the evening, I got a picture, and Justin was with me, and I remember the story like it was yesterday. We checked the camera, real quick. We skimmed through the pictures. We put, more food out. So we get to going back down the road, and I was looking at, while I was driving, Justin was looking at the pictures, and he said, "Man, that 10-pointer, he done grew a little bit." I said, "Yeah." And then we couldn't really see much in the picture, tell much about the deer. And he scrolled to the next picture, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is a big deer." And he said, "I don't think this is that 10-pointer." And I looked at the picture and said, "No." I said, "That is not the 10-pointer." And that was the first picture I got of him, and we knew then he was going to be a giant. That's when we decided, hey, we got to make a name for this deer, And it sounds cliche, but I'd found that shed, and me and Justin were like, well, hey, let's just name him Shed Deer, And it just kind of stuck. And from then on, he was known as SD for Shed Deer. If I walk up that road, it won't be about a 20-yard shot. That ain't far at all. got them out there.
I hope so.
Folks, listen.
I don't want to play with them.
Next time you decide to go out and move your deer stands, and you're gonna be moving your stand from one location to the next, it's always a good decision to investigate your stand for any critters. That was not a good feeling to be 20 foot up in the tree holding the deer stand and holding the tree and wasp coming out of my deer stand. But we got it figured out. Now, let's try this again.
So tell us about the first and only encounter that you had with SD on where you filmed him.
First and only encounter that I had with him. Well, it was pretty depressing. I'd been hunting. I was ready, and it was about a week and a half into the season. I'd been getting ready all summer. You know, coming in, checking my cameras, patterning the deer. I had several bucks coming in there, and I'd hunted pretty hard, not too hard. I didn't want to hunt the place too hard. Tried not to hunt it in the mornings, and seen several bucks. And I went. It was about a week and a half into bow season, and I didn't have a clue that he was about to show up. So I'm sitting there, and every day he'd been coming in at 7:30, right at 8, right before it got dark, about 30 minutes before dark. And I'm sitting there, I'm hunting. I got in there early, luckily, so I didn't spook him. And lo and behold, he shows up at 10 after 6. And I sat there and watched him for 45 minutes. And he got about 25 yards from me at one point. But I just never had a shot, a clear shot on him. And he came in and then just walked away 45 minutes later.
Is there anything else you're gonna do different this year that you wish you would have done last year?
That's a good question. I do believe this year, I think I'm gonna hunt primarily in the evening time. I don't think I'm even gonna hunt, especially in that exact spot. I don't think I'm gonna hunt in the mornings at all. Just because, that's the only time I was getting pictures of the most deer. But the way the deer movement's been, especially for me, over the years that I've been hunting, you see more deer in the evenings, and you really don't see many deer in the morning times until it starts getting cold and they start chasing does and that sort of thing. So that's probably the number one thing I would do differently, is primarily hunting the evenings, just to keep my scent out of there and hunting as least bit as possible, but hunting smarter at the right times.